What's up everyone, Chad from Star Wars Buckets here. Welcome to episode 2 of our video series. This video is how to convert a Black Series Stormtrooper helmet into an Incinerator Trooper. You can see I have 3 pictured here. This is the one I converted from the plain white that was offered first from Hasbro. And I also have the Shock Trooper. This was a GameStop exclusive. And this third one here was a Amazon exclusive, I believe, the Shadow Trooper. If I knew how limited this was and how much they were now, I would have bought 2 of them, but at least I got one. Okay, if you're not familiar with the Black Series, Hasbro came out with the line of helmets. They're really affordable and really nice overall. Now they are kind of toyish if you're a collector, but I mean, you can't beat the price. They released at $99.99 US when they first came out, but you know, if you do your research, you can find the plain white one for about $30 online or sometimes in stores if they still have them in stock. I mean, overall, I don't really have any complaints. It does feel a little toyish, and I get it, it is a toy. It does have the voice activation and the speaker, and you know, I get it, it's for kids too. Well, probably kids first, adults second, but you know, I'm a big kid. But it does have this battery pack on the back, which kind of drives me crazy because these speaker systems are usually not that great. But that's just me. But overall, I mean, you can't beat it. It looks good, and if you're looking for a helmet on a budget, you can't beat it. So in a moment, I'm going to break out a brand new one that's all white. It's still in the 3 pieces it comes delivered in, but I'm going to show you how I turned it into this Incinerator Trooper here. After this is all converted, it actually even feels a little different. Then I took the shine off and weathered it and repainted it, and in the end, I love this helmet. I even took off the battery pack and the speaker off the back. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the Incinerator Trooper was actually on the teaser trailer for The Mandalorian, debuting in, I believe it is November on Disney+. I went to Celebration a few weeks ago and was lucky enough to get on the panel to see the teaser trailer, the extended preview, and one of the Incinerator Troopers walks out and starts firing up the town, and it looks awesome. I can't wait to see it. So here we go. Okay, so when you open the Hasbro box, these are the 3 pieces to the Stormtrooper helmet. You got your faceplate here, you've got your back plate here, and you've got your dome. Now, if you don't have one of these and you're not familiar, it's really easy to assemble. All you do is take your front plate and your back plate, attach them together like this. Once they're attached, that way, you just put your dome in on top. You gotta push hard because these little tabs snap in, and once they're in, they don't come out. So I don't think there's a way to detach it after you put it together, but I could be wrong. So anyway, before I get to this inside part, I want to talk about the back plate. Now, this is a battery pack, as many of you know, and I believe this is the speaker that the sound effects come out on. I'm not sure, I've never actually put batteries in it. This thing drives me crazy. I wanted to get rid of it when I made this thing, even though you probably won't ever see it on my display. But, so I used a combination of JB Weld and Bondo, and it was not easy. It was trial and error. As you can see in these photos, it's kind of a big mess, but I went through probably 3 or 4 rounds, probably more than that, probably 5 or 6 times, and you can see I had cracking. It was just a big mess, but you know, I kept sanding, retrying, sanding more and more, and I eventually got the right outcome. This one photo here, you can see this is after my 4th attempt, and I just sanded it all off and started over. But when it was said and done, you can see in this photo here that with the primer on it, I actually got it to look pretty good. Not perfect, but good enough. Okay, back to the faceplate. I'm trying to remember, it's been about 1.5 years since I did this conversion, but I pretty much gutted everything out from the faceplate. I ended up cutting this out with scissors because I like my own padding in there. I took this nose piece out here, I removed this little microphone mechanism, and I removed this black wire, I'll just call it the mesh for the frown. So everything pretty much comes out, including the 2 aerators. Now these actually pop out. I believe I took a screwdriver and just pushed on the insides, and they should pop right on out and snap right back in. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll be right back. Okay, I want to stop the time lapse here for a moment because I'm running into things that I didn't remember from last time. These pieces here I just left because my scissors are just simply too big. I'll eventually pull these out, but for right now I don't really need to do that. For the visor, I mentioned there were 3 screws, one here, and one here. There's actually 7. There's 4 additional screws. There's one here in this corner. There's one right here, and then the same thing on the other side, there and there. My thumb's blocking that hole. So once you take all 4 of those out, this whole piece actually comes out. Now, before I pull this out, in the time lapse, I don't know if you saw it, I know it was fast, but this nose piece pops out once you take these 2 screws out, and then this wire hangs here. I believe I just cut the wire from last time, but let's find out. I don't remember here. This just pulls out. Oh, okay, that's right. Whoop. There goes the visor on the floor. Hang on. All right, here we go. So let's put that over here. So, okay, now I remember this. Yeah, so this wire goes from the, where the sound goes in all the way up to here. Now, I barely even pulled on it. It just popped right on off. So here is piece on top. All I did, I think I just ripped it off, which I'll just do now. Here, just rip the piece off, and that little circuit board piece can just stay there. You don't need it, so you can get rid of this thing. All right, so that is gone. So don't lose this. So now what is left is just to take these two screws out, and I'm going to pull that off. And I also took off the 2 aerators, and yeah, it was pretty simple. All I did was take a screwdriver and just push on the inside, and these pop right on out. Okay, painting. Now, obviously, this is way too shiny for an Incinerator Trooper. Incinerator Trooper is supposed to be dusty, dirty, beat up, burnt looking, weathered, the whole 9 yards. This is way too shiny. So the first thing I did was spray paint this with a flat white. Now, before you do that, obviously you have to mask certain things off. For example, you don't want the rubber to get painted on, you don't want the vents, you don't want this piece, you don't want the frown, you don't want the vocoder, all that stuff. So I ended up taking painter's tape, covering this up, same thing with the other side. I took electrical tape, especially for the frown, to get the sharp lines here, to cover that up. And as far as all these stripes, you don't want to sit there and try and cover all these with any kind of tape. You'll go crazy. Same thing with this. So I ended up using this stuff called Misket. It's called Misket Liquid Frisket. It's a strange paint on, I don't even know what to call it. It's some kind of paint on product. You just put it on with a brush and then just slowly go over the area you want to cover, and it'll keep the paint out for the most part. So I did that on both sides here, and then I also put Misket all over the vocoder here with a brush the best I could. Okay, and same thing with the dome. You want to take painter's tape, electrical tape, whatever you prefer, and cover up the 2 back pieces here along with the side. You don't want to get any flat white on that. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Don't forget your primer first. You want to add either filler primer or self-etching primer. At least that's the 2 I use. You can use whatever primer you want, but don't forget to add the primer first. That's a big deal, and make sure you do a light sanding before you add the white. Very important. Okay, after your white paint is on, I suggest you leave it dry for at least 48 hours. Then after that, you want to start adding the red. Now the red, obviously, as you can see from this, goes around the nose and it almost takes the entire front of the jaw here. Now the red stripe also goes all the way up around to the bottom of the dome piece. This line is where they connect here. As you can see here, I used electrical tape to get nice, sharp, crisp lines. I also used it for the frown, and any additional space I went and covered with painter's tape. Once that was all covered and ready to go, I went ahead and used the red. All right, the red I used is a standard Rust-Oleum 2X satin colonial red. It's a little more of a darker red, which I think looks really good for this kind of helmet. All right, after you put on the first coat, I think I put 2 or 3 additional coats on within maybe 3 minutes of each other. You don't want to wait too long to add additional coats, and then after your 4th coat, take the tape off right away. And what I mean by fast is don't rip it off. I just mean don't allow the paint to dry, because if you do, once you take the tape off, it's just going to start ripping into your paint, and you're going to have a heck of a time, which actually might not be a horrible thing because you want a weathered look, but I like to take the tape off, you know, while it's wet, soon after the last application. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to add, I almost forgot. Since you're painting these in 3 different pieces, this is assembled obviously because it's done, you want to make sure your stripe lines up with your helmet here. So before you start painting, put this together as close as you can without connecting it, and put your dome on and make sure this is lined up with the bottom here, because it'd be terrible if you do all this painting, you put the dome on and it doesn't line up with the front. That'd be horrible. So important painting tip. Okay, let your red paint dry for at least 2 days just to be safe. You know, you want to make sure it's all the way dry, not sticky. Then really important, remember this is still in 3 separate pieces. Before you put these together, important, don't forget to put your visor in and all those pieces I talked about earlier. Now, one thing I don't think I mentioned earlier is I painted the inside black. I just used a rattle can, it's just simple flat black. But before you do that, you know, there's these connectors on the side. Make sure you cover those up with painter's tape so you don't get black paint residue in there, and then it won't connect properly. So I forgot to mention that, sorry. Okay, once your visor is in, put all 3 pieces together, put the front, the back, and then the top goes on, and make sure you press hard to make sure it connects really well. And then if you lined everything up correctly, the stripe should be right smack in the middle. Then pretty much all you have left is to peel off your misket. So all you do is just take your finger and you can peel all that misket material off, and it should end up, mine ended up looking a little dirtier than the super shiny black, which is kind of a benefit because it's supposed to be a dirty trooper anyway. And same thing with the tube stripes here. It kind of left a kind of a junky residue, which doesn't bother me since this helmet's supposed to look dirty anyway. So peel everything off on both sides, and the blue should still remain there as long as you painted it in the correct areas, and then you're good to go. So the only thing left to do is weathering. So I did a couple passes of black wash on it. For my black wash, all I do is mix a little bit of alcohol with black acrylic paint. It doesn't actually mix together, but it does dry fast, and dirty the whole thing up, let it dry. When you're all done, you can use Tester's Dull Coat. It's just spraying on a couple coats, it seals everything in, and you're pretty much good to go. It's kind of hard to tell in this video, but it looks better in person. But you know, I have an overall dirty look to it. And then I went and took some sandpaper and scratched some different areas here and here, just to look like it's been through hell. And that's pretty much it. These are all the steps I used to convert my Black Series into this Incinerator Trooper. If you have any questions, if there's something I didn't go over clearly, let me know. But you know, this was a lot of fun, and you know, what's really nice is when it's all done with the flat paint, it doesn't even feel like the same Hasbro helmet. It actually feels totally different, and I like it a lot better. But hope you like this video. That's it for now. I hope this helps. Thanks.